fair, did seem to show much more contrition. But
who's the other one? Sorry,
Tetevano.
Oh yeah.
That was some time ago, and it was a one-time thing, not a multiple offence. But anyway, with Louis not involved for a good period at the start of the season, if Leeds don't feel that young McClelland is the answer, which I kind of suspect that they don't, then I think they'll be running. I think
he might have picked up an injury. I think McClelland might have picked up an injury as well.
Yeah, they'll be running with Eastman in that position, and if Gale's not fully fit, he'll have to play in the halves. Another option, like you said, is the centres, and maybe they could put Sutcliffe into the halves. I think the team would lose creativity with that move, but might gain structure versus Eastman in the halves.
It's one extreme or the other there, isn't it? It's either ultra structured, ultra disciplined, or completely off the cuff, completely free running.
Long shot could be fullback as well. Him and Myler might be options there with young Walker out for the season. It's not a position that he's particularly played a lot of, but it might be a position he's suited to. Maybe not in defence, but
I was going to say it's the defence bit that will where he needs to be adjusting quickly, because that's the biggest difference, and especially the position and work rate you need to put in at fullback. That will be a bit of a bump.
Yeah, I think if his speed of mind is still there, he was always a guy who could see an opportunity when he was in league, but whether or not he has the physical capabilities to take advantage of that opportunity now compared to then, I'm not so sure. Whether he'll be dulled a bit to taking those opportunities because he hasn't played it for so long, I'm not quite sure. I just think it gives them a lot of cover and has given them a lot of press for a signing that I don't think there's any loser in it.
No, I think this is smart. This is smart money.
Yep. Okay. Talking of a smart move where I don't feel like there's any losers, Tim, Super League confirmed that a broadcast arrangement has been agreed with premium sports network beIN Sports for Catalan Dragons home and away Betfred Super League matches in 2021. The arrangement between Sky Sports, the Dragons and the French broadcaster will initially see the first 5 Dragons home games being aired live on beIN Sports network in France, with Sky Sports also showing the matches live throughout the UK. The Dragons matches in rounds 1 and 2, which will be televised by Sky Sports in the UK, will also be shown via beIN Sports back in France.
Yeah, Alan Walker said sacking Elston has already brought rewards. The tracks are back on telly as the beIN deal is back on. Bernie G and the crew, which sounds like a late 80s, early 90s rap group, have worked hard.
I was thinking breakdancing group, but I think I've got breakdancing on the mind after all those breakdancing clips at half time of the BBC shows, the BBC games this weekend. But anyway.
Bernie G and the crew have worked hard to get it back on after SL torpedoed it with success.
Yeah, did the Super League... I don't understand this Super League torpedoing it concept that Alan's come up with. Was it just that they wanted to see if it was actually could get more money, or some money or something? But anyway, it's back on, which is great news for Super League, for the Catalans Dragons, for Rugby League in France. It's all great news. And breakdancing is an Olympic sport apparently now.
Wow.
What's that about?
So if for next week's podcast, tell us which rugby league player you'd most like to see breakdance and why.
Yeah, who would be in Bernie G's crew? That's what we want to
know. The Abattoir 5. We had another fan view on this one. Joshua's granddad is best fit for this is the TV news story.
Sorry, this was about TV coverage, so I just thought there's no actual news story he's talking about, but we'll talk about it here because we're talking about TV coverage.
Okay, he says first 2 rounds on Sky gives fans a chance to see their teams after, unless show them, unless a pass holder and able to see at home on our league, fans can't see matches. Why are these games not available to purchase as away fans on non-pass holders? Revenue stream and fan inclusion should be what every club and league itself should be looking at. I agree. I mean, I said it last year when the same thing happened. There is a way to do this, I'm sure, even if it's through some form of percentage rebate back to the broadcast rights holder. For frick's sake, this closing off so people can't see you is just not a good idea.
Yeah, and when you talk about people losing the habits of pre-lockdown or what have you, I think those occasional fans are the ones we should be going hammer and tongue after, rather than letting them slip away just because Sky want them to watch their coverage rather than something else. Well, there's a solution, isn't it? Schedule all the games so that they're not on at the same time as Sky games, which looks like what they've done anyway for a lot of the time. There's games kicking off at all sorts of times that are going to be on our league that aren't, so that they don't clash with the Sky games, which is right. It's fair to do that, and right now, whilst we're not in stadiums and stuff, I think it's sensible to do that too. And you can, you're giving the broadcaster something whilst keeping something for yourself. But the fact that games aren't on sale for people to watch, I think if you're a season ticket holder, you can watch your team away in Super League. That's not the case with the Championship and League One on our league, but I believe, certainly my Wigan season ticket package told me that I can watch all Wigan's games on our league, so hopefully that is the case. But for the occasional fan, I just think it's stupid.
It's undermining that. I've talked lots about habit forming and how that's the business we're in terms of getting fans in, and the more you make that difficult, the less likely you are to keep those habits. And people will, it's a natural time for people who are going to reassess things. They're going to reassess what they spend their money on, especially when a lot of people, they're not going to have as much money as they would have done either now or probably in the next 12 months. People are going to say, well, I won't bother going because there's nothing. They just would have fallen out of it, and you can't blame them if you're not putting it in their faces.
Yeah. Yep. So let's cover this off, but we don't really need to talk about it. But we need to remind people of it, Tim, about how the table's going to be decided this year.
The 2021 Super League table will be determined using points percentage for the second successive season. The decision has been taken to allow for the possibility of postponement as a result of COVID-19. To qualify for the top 6 playoffs, clubs will be required to have filled 18 of their scheduled 25 fixtures or have won enough games despite not playing 18 times. If 4 or more clubs have not been able to fulfil the 70% quota of their games by the end of the season, the Rugby Football League will have discretion to determine an alternate minimum figure. The regulations on having a game postponed are similar to last season, with a club permitted to withdraw from a fixture if 7 of their top 25 players are unavailable as a result of testing positive, or following test and trace analysis, or if a government restriction prohibits them from travelling. A fixture will only be rearranged if both teams involved have the same available match slot, and a club may elect to play a game even if 7 of their 25 players are not available. In addition, the RFL has announced that players will not be able to go out on dual registration, but a minimum 2-week loan period has been brought in, coming down from the previous 4 weeks. There's a number of law changes for 2021. Rather than go into them, I think we'll just list them as the headlines, and then what I'm going to say is go, if you're interested, go and watch the video the RFL put out last week with Chris Kendall and Liam Moore talking you through it, because that can probably do it better than we can.
Oh, I thought we were going to read it all out. I thought this was going to be fun, but I think your idea is better. But we can pass comment on them as we go.
Yes.
So the first one is what we saw introduced in Down Under last year, actually. It's the 2040 kick. And if you're thinking, was it introduced Down Under last year? It was, but no one fucking tries it.
Yeah, you'll only see people try it in the last minute of a game where they're behind or level, and they need to get the field position for a drop goal. So it's a big risk play, but I think that's the only time you'll realistically see people think about it. Certainly for a while, and then it'll be in for a few years, and coaches will sort of start trying to exploit it. But I think it'll take a good couple of years for anyone to really do it in anger.
Dave Woods rather optimistically called that one might have been tried to be attempted in the Featherstone-Bradford game, but then I think he realised that the camera is on a 40-metre line, not the halfway line, so where the player was kicking it from, he thought he was further back down the pitch than he actually was. And really, he was going for a traditional 40-20 rather than a new wave 2040. But we'll see if we get any, and yeah, if it does turn around games late in the play, then that'll be exciting. The ball steal rule has changed, Tim. Again,
although, just to come back on that one, does that mean in the future you wouldn't get a wide to west because instead they just kick it downfield, and you'd lose that moment looking back in history?
It depends where you feel the space is, because actually you might get more, because what will happen is the wingers will drop back earlier in the sets, won't they, to prevent the kick, so you'll actually get more space to get around the outside. So it could have the opposite effect. We could have more. As long as Chris Joint isn't scoring the try, then I'm happy. The ball steal has changed, where basically the ball can be stolen now where it's any point during the tackle that it becomes 1-on-1. So if you were 3 men in the tackle but 2 drop off and then the ball is stolen,
it's now the rule that all players used to say it was, even though it wasn't.
Yeah. Well, certainly all the players who came over from Down Under thought it was. But yeah, exactly. So watch out for this getting confusing, but it does add to excitement and also makes players need to concentrate more when they're carrying the ball.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to John Bateman taking advantage of this after his performances delivering on this alongside Josh Hodgson Down Under.
Yeah, lateral position of scrums, basically you can move the scrum left, right, in the middle, depending on how you feel, 10 or 20, depending where you fancy taking it. Not that we're going to have scrums for a while, but when we get them, you can move them around.
Yeah, and until we get scrums, the play of the turnover play of the ball will happen, won't it? Just and you can nominate where you're going to have that. So either 10 metres in from touch, 20 metres in from touch, or in the middle of the field. We saw it work in the NRL last year, didn't we? It meant people had a few more set scrum moves, and defending teams had to think a bit more if the scrum was in the middle of the field about numbering up and that sort of stuff. So
yeah, and I think there's potential as well if there's a weak winger or one who's slightly more weak defensively, you shift it onto there so that you're overloading them potentially. I mean, there'll be some creative coaching out of this, but again, I think it will take a while to come in.
Yeah, and of course, the person who might take advantage of this most is the coach of the Combies. So
yeah,
we'll see how that goes.
He's got time to think about it, hasn't
he? Yep. Restart of play after the ball crosses the touchline. This has been brought in both the NRL and Super League this year. So actually, there's a lot of... We talk about the rule books being different so much. There's actually been a lot of combining them together, and hopefully the NRL get rid of the fucking stupid 2-point drop goal, and then we're all on board with everything the same. But basically, if the ball goes into touch, then it will be a play of the ball that restarts it rather than the previous scrum. Simple.
Yeah, incorrect play of the ball, a handover will be given rather than a penalty.
And to be honest, most of the times last year we saw these giving us knock-ons, didn't we, where players were not gaining their balance rather than The only time we saw it done a bit differently maybe was there was the controversy over whether it should have been one way or another in the Challenge Cup final, wasn't there? And maybe if it's